All right, y'all. We back with a crazy video today, man. This dolphin stuff, insane. I saw a bunch of y'all ask me to cover it. I was like, I'm gonna get to it. Don't even worry about it. We definitely got to go over this. Check out, some other people talking about it on the internet. And yeah, this is an unbelievable story right here. I can't lie to you. Why not? Let's just jump right into it. Got a bunch of different clips to play from people talking about it. I thought this would be a very interesting video. And I also pulled up the Talk to Dolphins law as well that we'll read over in a second, because as you do know, it is generally considered illegal to talk to dolphins or interact with them in any way. Wild dolphins. Let's put that out there. Check out this first clip, y'all. Just a general, summary of what happened.
Florida man claims to have been kidnapped by dolphins and forced to build an underwater city. The man was found early Monday morning on the side of a beach in Lee County, soaking wet, dehydrated, and confused. When deputies arrived, he was drawing detailed diagrams in the sand. According to the man, a pod of dolphins took him while he was swimming and brought him to a place about 40 feet under the surface. He said they forced him to help build underwater structures. He told deputies the dolphins communicated with him using clicks. He said the group had a leader named Gerald who somehow helped him breathe underwater, possibly by creating an airspace. The man spent 3 days working on what he described as cities, towns, and condo-like structures. When the dolphins were satisfied with his work, they sent him back to the surface and told him they would return for phase 2. Medical staff treated him for dehydration, but found no signs of head injury or mental confusion. Tests showed seawater and marine particles in his lungs, suggesting he had been deep underwater for a long time without typical lung damage. This was unusual and raised questions for doctors. The man holds a master's degree in aerospace engineering and has experience with deep-sea technology, which he says is why the Dolphins chose him. Some people think the story is false, but the physical evidence has made others curious.
The man really does hold those degrees. If I'm not mistaken, he worked for Lockheed and Martin. And so he said this is why the Dolphins chose him. I wonder, where was he? Was he in the water? Was he, doing whatever he do with his job and he was already in the water and got chosen? Mind you, the head dolphin name is Gerald. Somebody said Gerald. Go ahead, tell everyone. No one will believe you. How did he even know the dude name is Gerald? This is crazy. Who named Gerald Gerald? Did the other dolphins name Gerald Gerald, or they just know how to communicate and they know names that are, in English? You know what I'm saying? Gerald is an American name, right? It's in English. How did they? There is a lot of how questions. What, when, there's so many questions with this. I've never heard nothing like this in my life. It's 2026. I'm not surprised, but I've never heard anything like this in my life. The man was underwater for so long. He had stuff found in his lungs that implicated he was underwater for a very long time and breathing, he didn't have water, stuck in his lungs to where he finna die or something, or long-term damage to his lungs. He was breathing perfectly fine underwater. This story is crazy. Let's listen to some more people. And I did find this one guy who's been talking about this stuff for a very long time. And he's gonna say something that is very interesting. We'll get to that in a second.
I believe he was kidnapped by them goddamn dolphins. I believe them dolphins kidnapped him and made him build that underwater city. I believe it. I believe it now. How was he able to stay under that water that long period of time and build? Maybe they got some technology underwater I don't know about. Maybe they was able to put him inside, like, y'all know them bubbles on cars, so they put you inside a bubble so you can breathe underwater and you can. But look, but who is y'all to say that his story is not true? How you gonna say, well, we confirmed that what he said was a lie? You won't dare. You won't dare. So you can't tell that man his story ain't real. He was kidnapped, and y'all need to go down there and investigate. Y'all need to go down there and investigate, see what's going on, because I don't think he was lying. See, that's the thing. Y'all want people to think he's crazy. So, like, man, what the hell is he talking about? So that people don't believe the truth. I think he's telling the truth. I just think y'all trying to cover up what really happened. I think y'all trying to cover up what really happened. You know, they always say, don't talk to the Dolphins. Don't talk to maybe he talked to the goddamn Dolphins. Maybe that's why talking to Dolphins is illegal. They said don't talk to the motherfucking Dolphins. You went talking to the motherfucking Dolphins and got your ass motherfucking kidnapped. You got your ass motherfucking kidnapped for talking to the goddamn Dolphins, and they made you into a slave. They made you into a white slave. How the hell that work? How the hell that? Now look, yes, the story sounds crazy, but
The story sounds insane. Somebody said, y'all forget there's an entire world underwater. Yes, there is. We don't even know if he was took through a portal or did they take him so deep. Number one, I myself, I just don't believe you go so deep into the ocean and then there's just underground cities of animals and dolphins and so on. Most of the time, I believe it is through a portal that is unattainable. You can't access it through boat, ship, just a regular human swimming on down there. You know, could it be possible that there's just a whole underwater city type thing going on with these animals we've never seen before, animals, able to access it? There could be. We're talking about the marine kingdom, which dolphins are a part of. We're talking about something that is very powerful, very to a point where we don't understand it at all. We don't understand it at all. And when we talked about the marine kingdom, when we talked about mermaids and all of that good stuff, and we thinking about the queen of the coast, who I believe is a fallen angel that rules over the seas, over the underworld, of water, so on and so on. I believe they are the ones who have access to that underwater world. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like a tongue twister. But, I that's what I believe. Y'all know about the Queen of the Coast. We've talked about the Marine Kingdom multiple times and their influence on humans and so on. And it doesn't surprise me that dolphins have sometimes an even greater influence on humans that's just completely untapped. A lot of stuff that we don't know about. It does say, yes, it is generally illegal to actively talk to or intentionally interact with wild dolphins in the United States under the Marine Mammal Protection Act. Such actions are considered harassment if they disrupt natural behaviors like feeding, breeding, or nursing. So there's obviously a deeper reason to why we can't interact nor talk to them. Dolphins would almost be considered like an alien species of the marine kingdom. I mean, look at how they look. When you think of an alien, you look at a dolphin, you're not seeing much of a difference. They really look like an alien type of animal, and they can let me stop talking. I'm finna let the guy who really knows this stuff explain it to y'all.
What is the connection between the dolphins and our intergalactic friends from other planets?
They have a very strong connection to the star system of Sirius.
Okay.
And thus then they are in telepathic communication very often with consciousnesses from that star system and from that dimension of reality. Thus then they are very, very good at helping you connect to the Sirius energy as well through their vibration. And also they are very good practice for having contact with what you call extraterrestrial beings. Because they are, in a sense, aliens in your very own backyard. Well, all right, in your very own swimming pool. And thus, then, the more you practice learning how to communicate with the dolphins and the whales, in a sense, the easier it will be to also communicate with extraterrestrial beings. Because there is a lot of similarity. And they do have an actual language. And therefore, you can learn it. And you can actually communicate that way, or you can communicate through vibration, through the heart, telepathically if you wish. It's up to you. But they are very good practice, and they are willing, especially what we call the dreamers. The dreamers are the ambassadors of the cetacean nation that are willing to interact with the humans and help them understand that they are far from alone in the universe. Dolphins have been talking to extraterrestrial beings for thousands of years. They just kind of look at you like you're sort of hard of hearing. Does this make sense?
It does.
Does this
Indeed.
help you?
Yes, thank you.
Now, I think what he is saying is that they have been communicating with humans for a very long time, but they look at you as if you're hard at hearing. Meaning, I think he's saying we're the extraterrestrial beings that they are communicating with. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's trying to say that they can actually communicate with extraterrestrial beings that are not human, that are of a different, species or whatever. It sounds like he's saying this as they've been trying to communicate with us, but we're just hard at hearing. And this is why we cannot, you know, interact with them basically because we may be introduced into a realm that we don't understand. We may could find out things about the universe, about the world that we do not understand. It makes me think about that show Hard Body Problem on Netflix and how they released those two saffrons that basically monitor the entire world, one on one opposite side of the world and the other saffron on the other side. And basically they like connect on a quantum level so that humans never figure out the real truth of the universe. And every time we create and move forward, they divert us so we don't really understand the world. That's what this makes me think about. And maybe dolphins can bridge that gap between what we truly understand about our universe. But check out a little bit more about the guy who actually got kidnapped, allegedly.
I think Ricky Hollowell just answered why it's illegal to talk to dolphins. So Ricky Hollowell just showed up and said he was kidnapped by dolphins and forced to build on the water. What? But the more we learn about Ricky, the more his story is starting not to sound so crazy. So a little bit about Ricky's background. Ricky has a degree in MIT, and he worked for a decade at a company called Lockheed Martin, which I had to Google because I didn't know what the hell that was. Turns out that's an aerospace and defense program. And he specializes in advanced composite materials and submersive vehicles designed for deep sea exploration. Now, when Ricky left the hospital, it was concluded that he had no drugs, no alcohol in the system. He had no head trauma. He was, for lack of a better word, fine. But I'll tell you what they did find in this system. A routine x-ray and fluid examination found a trace amount of Gulf water in his lungs, specifically saline matching samples that are found 50 or 60 feet offshore. Or they found microscopic samples of diatom and plankton residue. Now, you understand, this is not consistent with, brief drowning or aspiration swimming. This is almost like his lungs was exposed to a large amount of water for a long period of time. Almost like he was breathing water. There was no inflammation, there was no damage. And all this is coming from a professional analysis, not from me. Is this why they made it illegal for us to talk or interact with dolphins?
This must be exactly why. Has to be. I mean, the physical evidence of him being, this has to be the reason. The physical evidence is overwhelming. Overwhelming. It is actually insane that we are hearing a story about a guy, helping them create a underworld, or underwater city. I mean, is he that good at what he does that they wanted him specifically for the help? What is the city even being used for? Somebody said dolphins are the aliens. Look up Bashar and dolphins. It explains everything. That's the clip that we just watched. The Bashar guy, who was sitting with his hands in that triangle motion with his eyes closed. That was the guy Bashar. Somebody also said they got Avatar: The Way of the Water from somewhere. This is a crazy story, y'all, because we're dealing with something that is so untapped. We're dealing with something that we have no real idea about, bro. We have no real idea about this stuff. The Marine Kingdom, you know, the ocean in itself, the multiple portals throughout the ocean, which some people call space itself. You know, I don't believe in the space that they show us, so maybe that's why 5% of the ocean is, basically undiscovered. Maybe that's why. That's the real space. That's where y'all remember with them UFOs, the US account of going to Antarctica and UFOs coming out of water. Think about that. They ain't just hovering in the water waiting to surprise somebody. No, they came from another dimension in the water. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. It's multiple kingdoms: air, land, and water. The marine kingdom, it's in water. So you have to know that there are portals in the water. There lies multiple different dimensions that we cannot access. Dolphins can obviously access them. Those mermaids can obviously access them. Those water spirits can obviously access them. It's just like real life. It's just like the kingdom of land. There are portals on this land that, where the veil can split and can be accessible. There are portals in the sky. It's all the same thing. And this has to be one of the craziest stories though that I've heard in a long time, y'all. I can show y'all another clip. Um or we could pretty much wrap it up here because we've pretty much covered it all. Some other stuff I had saved were just some people talking about it. Maybe I'll just add it at the end of the video and just won't come back and talk. Y'all definitely let me know what y'all think about this, man. Very interesting topic. This has to be one of the more interesting videos we've been able to talk about in a while. Let me know what y'all think, man. Black Balloon. And I'm gonna see y'all soon, all right? I'm out.